Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Becky Brown, and I'm so excited about today's show. But I want to start with saying, hey, we have a matching gift campaign going on right now, and every dollar that you donate to the ministry will be doubled. And today's show, we're going to help so many people. So I want to encourage you to give today. On today's show, we've got, I was going to say doctor. I was going to give you guys both doctorates, Stacy Smith and Laura Manja McDonald. They are our speakers at Restore. They are both licensed professional clinical counselors in some form or another, marriage and family therapists. I can't remember everybody's details, but let me tell you, these women are brilliant. They have experienced betrayal and recovery. And I was just telling them before we went to the air, I just said, you guys are great examples of what real healing looks like. And so, let's talk about why somebody needs to call us today and talk to the two of you. What's going on in the world of healing from betrayal?
Good question. Becky, as Holy Week is approaching, and I just think about Jesus's descent into death, and I think about how he was arrested, not by strangers, but because of betrayal of one of his closest friends, and when I zoom out at that picture, I can imagine the sting of it. And the first thought of me as a human is, gosh, I was a fool. I was a fool to trust him. I was a fool to trust him, as a friend. We know Jesus knew it was coming. It was prophesied. But me as a human, one of the things that we deal with, and I'm sure Laura is very well aware of this, is people think they're so stupid for trusting their spouses.
Right.
And, I know that's not what Jesus thought, but, Judas knew exactly where to find Jesus in the wilderness, in that garden, because he had shared intimate moments and fellowship with him in that very place. That space of closeness was weaponized against him. And what a deep betrayal to have someone use that sacred connection as a means to harm. So many parallels to me with the betrayed partners that we work with. And then also zooming out of that picture, I think about Peter. He's fiercely defending Jesus, cutting off the ear of one of the arresting soldiers, and we think, Peter's loyal, right? Only to witness him just a few moments later, denying even knowing Jesus 3 times.
Right.
And I just think about the roller coaster of that story and how completely alone and abandoned, betrayed and misunderstood Jesus must have felt. And in that way, he deeply identifies with those that are suffering silently, especially those betrayed partners that we walk with, and the fear and the pain of being taken advantage of, the loneliness. It's just crippling. And often it drives people to isolation. And that's where we come in, I want to say that we see you. Today, we see you, me and Becky and Laura, we see you, and you're not alone. We get it. We've been there.
Right.
And the most important is that Jesus sees it and he gets it too. So we invite you into connection. That's what New Life's all about.
I love it. And
yes,
we're going to be taking your calls for the next hour, 1-800-229-3000. And if you have experienced betrayal, and you're afraid to, step out of that shadow, today's your day. You're going to be met with love and grace and encouragement and hope. I know a lot of times when we do Restore, the women come in on Friday and they're so mad because they didn't do this. This wasn't their choice. But like Laura always says, it's your choice to heal. And so let's step into that healing. Give us a call today, 1-800-229-3000. We're going to take your calls. And we're going to help some people, whether you call us directly or if you're listening today, because I know sometimes that happens too, but we're glad you joined us.
We've been married 33 years. We attended the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. Even though we've read books, or attended a few other marriage weekends, this was certainly different and a lot more intensive than initially that we thought.
When you come to intimacy in marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process.
Was not really sure exactly what to expect, but the idea of learning to really understand intimacy was intriguing. We had been in the same patterns of struggle over and over again.
If you've thought, I don't think we can ever change, we're just in this rut and we can't get out, the Intimacy in Marriage workshop can help you get out of the rut.
The Intimacy in Marriage weekend is July 25th to the 27th in Washington, D.C. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
I would highly recommend it.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with you today with Stacy Smith and Laura Manja McDonald. We're answering your calls at 1-800-229-3000. And, we are getting ready for Restore. It's coming up in May, and we want to invite you into this process of healing, and that's what we're doing today. And we're going to go straight to the phones so that Laura and Stacy can answer some calls, and we're going to talk with Kay, who's calling us from Sacramento, California. It's her first time calling, and I'm so glad you are calling. Terry, there you go. Hi, Kay. How can we help you today?
Hi. I'm calling in because, and I apologize if I start crying, but my husband and I are scheduled for the conference coming up. I'm scheduled for the Restore, and my husband's scheduled for the Every Man's Battle. And he's sitting here right now. And the question is, well, there has been betrayal, sexual betrayal, and I have a couple of questions. One of them is, with Every Man's Battle, I heard that full disclosure is covered because we're having some hiccups in that area, some big issues in that area where, I just don't trust at all. And I guess that's not really a question because one of your representatives, Jeff Scuderigia, told us that part is covered in the conference. And so I guess my question.
Well, but Kay, we can talk about it. We can talk about it a little bit. I think sometimes when you're going into, all of this work, you have questions that you aren't sure why you're asking, but it doesn't feel right. And you've had some experience where it doesn't feel real good. Stacy, let's start with you on this because I know this is something that you work on. We'll hear from you in a second, Laura, I promise.
Yes, Kay. First of all, do not apologize for crying. What you're going through is cry-worthy, and we feel you in that. So don't apologize for that. This is tough stuff. Every Man's Battle will prepare your husband to be a truth teller. It is so good in helping men come to the place where they're ready to be rigorously honest. And it will do an amazing job of that. Restore will prepare you to hear what you need to hear and will prepare you to be strong and be able to know your worth regardless of what you hear out of his disclosure. However, both of us will recommend that you do a full therapeutic disclosure with recovery professionals present. That he doesn't come home and just dump it on you when he gets home from Every Man's Battle. As much as he wants to be a truth teller, that is not a loving way to do it because it is not supported. You're not supported by professionals. So we recommend and will recommend at the retreats that you, or at the week workshops, that you get the kind of supportive professionals that do this day in and day out and know what they're doing in creating a full therapeutic disclosure, and we will give you guidelines for that.
Does that help, Kay? Give you? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and one of the other things is I was talking to Jeff and asking, are there some counselors for us for marriage counseling, individual counseling over video, because we're in the middle of nowhere, that you guys could recommend. And I think Jeff's looking at that for us, and that would be able to handle these things and handle the related trauma.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Laura?
Well, yes. I mean, New Life is rich with, trauma-informed therapists to help you. I wanted to circle back, on one of the things where you said you don't trust. And I want to reaffirm that your body's working correctly. Our body nervous system is designed, if we have been violated, it's going to override even what our mind chooses to do. And I'm not sure when the betrayal happened, but if there's not been, and this is the point I really want to highlight, say betrayal could have happened 20 years ago, but time passes, our hurts don't. And wherever you left off in that betrayal, and if you have not had the tenderness and the guidance and the professional, from a professional who knows how to work with trauma informed, you're still going to be stuck wherever you were. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so your body.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kate.
Your body's not supposed to trust yet.
Yeah, and another thing is, I've been betrayed by the people in my group that I've had a woman in church that was hitting on my husband. I have a pastor that it's been horrible in working with about this stuff. I have another friend who was helping me and has been helping other people do this kind of stuff with CR, and there was a betrayal there. And so I just, this is all within the last year, and I'm just afraid to talk to anybody. And I'm getting super isolated. And, all the stuff that comes around with that stuff, where you're afraid to have anybody for a friend. And it's not the first time a girl at church has hit on my husband. So it's I feel like there's nobody to trust, nobody to let into my inner circle. And it's just getting more and more isolated, more and more just very trying to open up to be a friend with anybody. And
absolutely. It does.
Oh my.
And, Kay, it makes so much sense of why you wouldn't trust other people. And we totally and completely get that. My hope is that when you come to Restore, what you'll experience is people who get it and people who care. It's very different when you're with a group of people who get it and who have been through it. And I would say you trust your gut about being connected with professionals if you don't feel like someone understands you. And very few people understand betrayal trauma. You have to be trained in understanding the ins and the outs of it, and trust yourself on that and go. Of course, we're going to help you. We're going to guide you. You can talk to me and Laura personally about helping you find someone once you're there. But trust your gut. If you don't feel understood by the person, it's okay to fire a therapist and move on to someone that feels right for you.
Can I wait for 1 second? Because he's on the phone with her, I want you guys to speak to him about what she's going through and encourage him in taking this step going forward. I don't want to miss that opportunity.
Right. And what's your husband's name, Kay? Or what's
Lee?
Hi, Lee.
Hello.
We're glad you're here.
Hi. Thank you.
Lee, how open have you been to validating, or do you even know what I mean when I say that, validating Kay's trauma that she's experienced with you?
Yeah.
She just said I have been, and I feel I have been. So.
Okay. And did you say you have been to EMB, or you signed up to go?
No, I'm signed up to go to Washington.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So for you, it's really difficult. Even when, we see guys that immediately are remorseful, you have a desire, but then everything else in your mind and body has to catch up with that. And there's a tendency to be defensive. There's a tendency to invalidate how she recalls the story. And I always just say, note to self, don't interrupt her. And to be with her in the pain is the biggest, most act of love that you can show her right now. But it's also the most difficult act of love a guy is called to do, because shame will often flood you when she begins to go, you did this, I trusted this, and you weren't, and it's just hard to hold on right there.
Yeah, I feel the shame. And so, I'm reading Worthy of Her Trust right now, about halfway through it.
Great. So, Okay. Well,
Stacey, what would you say to Lee?
Yeah, I think that's a great start, is Worthy of Her Trust. It's a wonderful place to start, and shame gets in the way of the connection between you and Kay, and you'll learn how to push that away. And I always talk about being, even though you set the fire, you can go back in and be the fireman that rescues her. She is looking for you to understand her. She's looking for you to go in and experience this with her. And you can't feel 100% of what she's felt, but you can be with her as she experiences it, and be patient with yourself. Both of you be patient with each other, because it takes a while to develop those empathy skills. Really, it's tough. And in the beginning, you might have to say, time out, we got to do this over again because we messed up. But y'all are going to be in a big time learning process. So have grace for yourselves and each other, because it's tough, but it sounds like y'all are taking the right steps. Even being willing to be on the phone together with us is a great first start. It's unity. Yeah.
Right.
It's a way to go.
And I will say that this is the hardest work you will ever do, with the greatest return you will ever experience. And going back to how Stacey opened the show of, Jesus, dying for our sins and his own betrayal. But when he died on the cross, he took away the power of sin holding us down. And that's a promise that you can hold on to. That I've been through this. It's a grueling, but it's a grueling that gives you a return like no other. And you are promised to heal. And you are promised that what tried to, harm you is Genesis 50:20 will be used for God's glory and your good. That's God's promise. So stick with it. We'll help walk with you. I'm sorry, what?
Right.
Well, he said that's what they're counting on. And we are counting on that too, Lee. We are excited that you both are making this. We will be praying. We'll ask the audience to be praying too, because it is lots of people struggle in their marriages and they don't do anything about it. They just stay miserably married. And even in situations where there's betrayal and you can say, it's too much for me to deal with it. You both have made the choice to address it, and you are going to have you're going to have a lot of work ahead of you, but it's work worth doing for sure. But we're so glad that you called. I assume since you are
a question.
Yes.
So with the counseling, like as I'm reading the Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal, and as I'm reading that, it's talking about the order in which counseling should occur. Like I'll say, like there's three kind of things. Say there's the immediate sexual betrayal and the trauma from that. And then there's the childhood trauma that it builds upon, right, that hasn't been addressed. And then there's the counseling for the personal character defects and the work that needs to be done there as well. And say there's those three categories that are in my counseling portfolio, basically, that need to be addressed. And as I'm reading through the book, it's talking about really addressing the immediate trauma first and getting that part taken care of. And Is that how any of the counselors that you would refer us to from your group would handle these, like the trauma from right now first, then the trauma from childhood that it's built on, then the character defect stuff?
Well, Kay, before they answer, I'm going to jump in because you can hear the music, but that's a great question, and we'll answer it after the break. And I love that you guys are doing all of this homework. It's so encouraging. And we'll give you an answer after the break. But listen, if you're hearing our program today and betrayal has impacted you as a woman, Restore is the place where you need to go. You can join us. We're going to be there in May, and we've got some discounts for you. You can call us 1-800-229-3000. We'd love to talk to you. Hello, everybody. It's Becky Brown, and I just want to encourage you to be part of our spring match. It's like planting seeds in the lives of so many people. Every gift that you give to the match will be doubled up until $500,000. Isn't that amazing to think about all the lives that God can touch through your generosity and through this matching gift campaign? I know you want to be part of this match, and you can do that by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You can go to newlife.com/donate. You can also text the word match to 28950. I can't wait to see what God's going to do through your generosity. It will make a difference in the lives of so many people. Thank you in advance. To give to the match, text the word match to 28950, or you can go online at newlife.com, or you can always call us 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Yes, we are back. I said Restore is going to be in May. It's May 2 through 4. We're going to be in Dallas. You can go to newlife.com for all the details, or you can call us. And right now we're finishing up with Kay and Lee, who have so bravely decided to take a step in the right direction. They're going to go to Restore. She's going to go to Restore. He's going to go to Every Man's Battle. And she had a question about trauma. And Stacy, what is that process of addressing trauma?
So we will talk about at Restore. I actually will talk about the 3 phases of trauma therapy. And the first phase is safety and stabilization. And that's exactly why trauma is taken care of first, because we have to learn how to find safety in our bodies and be stable. And that's always the first level of trauma treatment. And then we will grieve what's been happening. Now, what I'll say to you is, and none of that is the time for traditional intimacy building. We've got to grieve what's happened in the past, and then as we do that, we start developing intimacy. But what can get in the way of that is some deficits or some personality traits that get in the way. So in the beginning, I recommend really good assessments to know what's going on. If there's complex trauma, like you mentioned, family of origin wounds. So I would say you get a therapist that can do some good assessments on both of you from the beginning, so that we know what we're dealing with, so that when difficulties and deficits arise in the relationship and in communication, that you can understand what's going on. Both of you will have up close personal contact with lots of therapists and us as speakers at both of the workshops. And we will personally help you find people that can meet those needs for you. I hear your fear, and just know that we are with you. You're not alone anymore, and you're going to get the answers you seek.
Yes, we are looking forward to seeing you there. Let's go back to the calls. We're so glad that Kay and Lee called, and we are going to talk with Isabel now. She's calling from Washington, D.C. She listens on the app. You can listen too. We have the app available wherever you get your app. You can download it. And not only can you listen to the program, but you can also get some great tip sheets, articles, all kinds of great stuff. But enough about us. Isabel, it's all about you right now. How can we help you? I'm so glad you called.
Hello.
Hello, Isabel. How can we help you today?
Okay, so I was calling because I turned the radio on. I was about to take a trip on the highway, and I heard that you were talking about betrayal today, and I thought maybe I could get some help for myself, but also maybe this would help others, because it's an interesting question that goes along with my situation, and I've been going through so much. What's that noise?
I think
Hello?
it's some kickback from. We're listening to you, Isabel.
Okay, good. Yeah, it sounds like dogs barking. So it's just an interesting result of my having been betrayed, by my husband unintentionally, because he basically couldn't help himself over and over and over and over and over and over again. And me kind of feeling like trying to cope with all the mistakes and the sins and, disorders and all this, that I'm in a way betraying him. And I was thinking about the principle of, if we want to take the splinter out of our brother's eye, we have to take the log out of our own. So, like, the betrayal thing is when I had to let my husband know the difficult truth, which is that he had issues since way before I met him, and I didn't know about it because he had, been lying to me. And then we knew each other for 4 or 5 years, and about 3 times during that process, besides the fact that he was very abusive during our, it wasn't dating. We were like friends, and we'd gotten a little bit too physically involved. And I thought that he was normal. But how do I explain this? About 3 times in that 4 or 5 year period, the Lord had gently touched my heart and my mind and let me know, don't do this. Don't marry this person. And I disobeyed God. And then one time, 2 weeks before the wedding, he dislocated my shoulder, and I went ahead and married him anyway. So try to imagine being in my shoes. So then I find out after we get married that he's not normal sexually because, I kept my, chastity thing. And I found out he wasn't normal, and I wound up married to a person that the Lord had told me to not marry. So then I find out after many years, and a whole life of pain, because I couldn't have relations with him, that he was heavily into pornography, and he had been all along. And so the pastor that I went to...
Isabel, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. The music is starting. We're going to have to take a break. Do you have a question that we can be thinking about over the break?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
what
when
would that
I
question
have to
be?
tell... Yes. He has narcissistic personality disorder. So when he goes to try to deal with it, it just makes him proud. And when I've had to tell him, I don't know what to do. I'm in so much pain. I married the wrong person. And how are we supposed to work on this? He can't absorb because of his narcissistic personality disorder. So I feel like I'm betraying him because he has too much. I'm betraying him too.
Okay, hold on, Isabel. It's very complicated. Man, relationships are complicated, especially when we have these wounds that kind of manifest in addiction. So we'll take a break, and then we're going to come back with the answer right after this.
Restore gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, May 2nd through the 4th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch, listening to all this great information, not paying. So my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with Isabel, and it's just a complicated relationship, and that happens so many times over our lifetime. But Laura, let's start with you. How can we help Isabel when she's feeling like she's betraying, when he betrayed, and it just gets cyclical in nature?
Gosh, first of all, Isabel, I am, my heart hurts to hear the what you've been through. How many years have you been married?
Today is our anniversary, and we couldn't remember. I think it's 42 years. No.
Oh, my.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
36 years.
Lots of
We've
years.
known each other
Lots
41 years.
Okay, lots of years. Have you had any type of counseling where someone can help you work through the betrayal and, you know, the ongoing abuse?
I have PTSD from my relationship with my husband.
There you
and it was professionally diagnosed. And yes, I've done EMDR. That therapist is not a Christian. I also got a therapist who is a Christian that I see sometimes concerning my husband's disorder, and he is diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So, the Lord knew all this. He knew. That's why he gently tried telling me not to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that part's done. But to answer your question, Isabel, is I do not believe you're sinning. The person you're being sinned against, and that is being perpetuated. And although your husband's diagnosis is narcissistic, I don't know if that's an official diagnosis, but if that's what you're saying, that if he is, that does not in any way excuse abuse. The Lord is not okay with anyone being abused. He says that we are the prudent see danger, and we are to turn and take cover. But the simple see it, they press forward, and they suffer the consequences. There's numerous scripture to support that. So no, you're not sinning, you're being sinned against. And I really, we would, like to give you guidance on getting the help you need in order so you can take cover.
Yeah. Stacy, what would you add?
Yeah, I agree with what Laura is saying. And, I hear you saying, well, he couldn't help himself, and because he has this, I like to liken that to picturing a cute little baby sitting there with a gun in his hand. You love the baby, you feel sorry for the baby, but you've got to protect yourself from that baby shooting you. And sometimes that means boundaries. And sometimes that means you can learn how to stay well. You can learn how to live in your own values. But with someone who's a narcissist, they're not going to understand you or get along with you if there's certain types of narcissism. So your work will be changing your expectations if you're going to stay in the marriage to this is what I'm living with. I can't expect there to be anything else, and have very strong, firm boundaries that can be loving, but they're boundaries, and they're what you will put up with and what you won't put up with, because like Laura said, Jesus wants you to be treated well. He doesn't want you to be abused. He cares for him, but he also cares for you as well.
Right.
Absolutely. The hardest part about that too, Isabel, is how long this has been going on. And so that becomes a pattern in a relationship. I think I'm going to send her a copy of The Emotionally Destructive Relationship. It will describe some of that. Yeah. And I think that'll also encourage you. And, we would love to have you come to Restore. It would help you as well.
Yes.
It's amazing. This is what New Life is all about. We really want people to have a new perspective, a good perspective. That's why when I opened the program today with the matching gift campaign, that's why we're asking for donations, because your gifts will make a difference in the lives of so many people. Isabel just happened to turn on the program, just happened to be talking about a subject that is impacting her own life. And if New Life wasn't there, where would she go? And so we want to be around for a lot longer. I would encourage you to give today. You can call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could text the word match to 28950, or of course you could go to newlife.com and click the donate button. Every dollar will be matched. And I want to just press in and say, if you have never given to New Life, now is the time. And so many of you are part of our family. Literally, you've been part of the New Life listening family. You listen, but I want to encourage you to take one step closer and give to the ministry that's given to you. And now we're going to go back to giving people advice. We're going to talk with Barbara, who's calling us from Bolingbrook, Illinois, listens or watches us on NRB. And we're so glad that you called today, Barbara. How can we help you?
Ma'am, I was the thing is, my husband passed away 3 years ago, and in the midst of all of that going on, and I didn't even know he was as sick as he was, come to find out, ma'am, I discovered that one of my good friends was the person he was cheating with, and it's just something that I can't seem to get over. It keeps rehashing. We've been married almost 57 years. And for this to happen at that late time, in our lives, it's just devastating. And like I said, passed away, and this all comes out. I haven't confronted this person yet. I don't know if I should or not. But they even had the nerve to ask me to give them his automobile that I had, that he left. I just don't know how more nerve that person could get, ma'am. But anyway, that's the reason why I was calling.
So, Barbara, do you Do you have any support as far as a counselor or group or church? Who is supporting you right now?
Nobody, ma'am. I call the prayer lines and get prayer, but it still comes back and haunts me, And
oh, yeah.
I don't have anybody right now.
Laura, let's start with you. How can we encourage Barbara, and what are some next steps she can take?
Barbara, the next step is the reality that must be what you face next is we don't move on from what we haven't moved through. Grief doesn't go away. Betrayal doesn't go away. Trauma is stuck in your body because the person who's supposed to protect you is not supposed to harm you. And that happened. And then the insult to injury, it's after he's died and you can't speak to him, but you are not stuck in this. I would love to see you at Restore. It will, I can promise it will change your life because it's God's truth that we put into application. But we must enlist prayer. We must enlist what we speak. Right now, your body, you're unknowingly agreeing with what's called an incoherent narrative, which is their lies, it's not truth. We must speak truth. And when we speak truth, that's actually 50% of our healing. So you don't have to stay stuck. That's just the first, is facing this reality. And we don't heal. Romans says we grieve with those who grieve. You cannot heal alone, period.
That's true. Stacy, what would you encourage Barbara to do?
I would say get connected with people that you can heal with. That's just what Laura was talking about. Isolation, really, that's what I talked about coming into the program. It's just crippling because the narrative, you're only alone in your own head. And people, the Lord uses people in our lives to speak truth to our lives, to speak healing in our lives. And it's really, really powerful. And that's what we're all about at New Life. Also getting with a trauma therapist that understands what you've been through. When you find out after someone's death that they betrayed you, sometimes we're loyal to them and we don't want to get angry, but you should be angry. It's a double betrayal. It was your best friend and him, and you've got to work through all those emotions before you decide whether to confront or how to handle things. You've got to work through all that so that you can regulate yourself and then speak that truth that Laura was talking about. So I want that for you.
Yeah, Barbara, you can hear the music. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back because, the question that you asked was about, should I confront her and what should I do with this? And I think Laura and Stacey can give you some pointers on how to deal with that. But yes, we would love for you to join us at Restore in May 2 through 4. in Dallas. And, if you're listening and you hear yourself in Barbara's story or maybe one of the other callers' story, there's help for you. We can help you. Call us. We can call at 1-800-229-3000. We'll be right back.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We were talking with Barbara, whose husband passed away just shortly after, then found out that he had been unfaithful with a dear friend, and just the heartbreak that goes through all that. And Stacey and Laura had been talking about, how important it is to do that self-care work and then to really understand, how do I move forward? But Stacey, let's talk about, should she talk to the friend? Like, what does that look like? And I know a lot of times women in situations, not exactly like Barbara's, but they feel compelled to talk to the other woman. And we hear about that all the time. So let's just talk about that. Just how can Barbara take that next step? What does that look like?
It's funny. It seems like the first thing that we want to do is confront that other woman, just get the story straight and get it right and have our voice. The problem is if we do that before we're healed, we're likely to do something we regret. And, personally in my healing, I want to stay in my values, and I want to be a woman that is empowered and, living in the way grace and dignity, but also empowered. And when I'm traumatized and when I hear it in your voice, Barbara, just this sadness. And of course, and so you're going to go into that relationship trying to confront it out of that place rather than an empowered place of standing tall. That's what trauma does to us. It makes us feel really small. So that's why we encourage the healing to happen first, because then you'll intuitively know what to say or what not to say. You have choices, and sometimes we don't know that when we've been traumatized. And you don't have to give her a vehicle. You can just simply say no. No is a complete sentence, and you can say, nope, sorry, that's not happening, without confronting that whole issue if you don't feel ready to do that. That's why we're encouraging you to get with people that understand you so that you can come back in a strong and mighty way, because you might be able to have, some nice words that are helpful rather than hurtful.
Exactly.
Yeah. Laura, what would you add to that?
Exactly what Stacey's saying. The guidance she gave you is exact, but then the neuroscience of your body is in fight, flight, freeze. So the prefrontal, which makes our executive decisions, it's jumped off track. So you do not have the capacity to think as clearly as you're capable of. And that's where we make really bad decisions. So for you to go and put your oxygen mask on and get the help you need, and then you can make a very stable decision after that. But your body is reeking, fight, flight, freeze. You are in danger, and you must to someone who can validate your feelings, preferably a trauma-informed therapist.
Yeah, and Barbara, we'll get you connected. It's also, it's complicated because of grief, but isn't that how life goes? Life be life, and you not only do you have this betrayal, but you're dealing with grief, and then whatever else life is throwing your way. We have a tip sheet here at New Life called 7 Essential Steps for Healing Betrayal, Trauma, and Marriage. And it's free. If you want to get a copy, you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and we'll send you a copy. But I think, with complicated grief, what Barbara is talking about, that is part of the healing journey. But I love what both of you have described is the fact that when trauma occurs, we can get stuck and we don't know how to move forward. And so taking that next step is really part of, it's one day at a time, one step at a time. And we'll be praying for Barbara in this healing time. Now, we just got a few minutes left, and I want to take an opportunity to ask a question from somebody who submitted one, and you can do the same if you ever have a question and you can't call in on a live show. You can go to newlife.com/radio, and we've got a way for you to ask the question. But the question from Lynette is, what do I do after my second husband has become emotionally draining, no matter how hard I try? She was married for 17 years and had a child from the first marriage, divorced. But then she met a Christian man who's 11 years younger than her, married him a few years after the divorce, went on dates, and felt like a lot of fun. But now it seems to me as we fall somewhere on the spectrum, as he does not seem to know some basic things, socially awkward. And so she's just having a challenge because there's no connection. What would you say to Lynette? How can they work through this?
For me, I think assessment.
Stacy, let's start with you.
Go ahead, Laura. Okay. I think assessment is key because there's so many things that can be happening. If there is neurodiversity, talking about being on the spectrum, it's important to know that. If there's deficits in personality, it's important to know that. We work with, when we specifically are dealing with betrayal and sex addiction, a lot of these men have a biotemperament that's over-controlled, and they might even have an obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, which causes them to be rigid in their thinking and emotionally draining. And while emotionally draining is different, that might be under-controlled emotions. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. Sometimes it's they don't feel it all, and sometimes it is they feel too much. But there's treatment for that, but that all starts with assessment. So I think getting with a really good professional, you're worth it. I'll just say that to you. You're worth it. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and get some names and numbers and call and interview your therapist and ask them, do you do assessments for neurodiversity or for personality issues, so that you can know what you're dealing with? And then the benefit to diagnosis is that treatment can be targeted specifically to what we're dealing with.
Very good. Laura, we got about a minute and a half. What would you say to Lynette?
I agree. I would take a more dual approach, though. I think that because there's maybe unresolved issues from the first marriage, that possibly you could have a self-awareness, what's inside of you that has difficulty maybe placing some healthy boundaries. What do you feel? Do you have an over-responsible, guilt complex? Or are you just so overly responsible that it's on you to make others feel okay? Now that's draining. That is draining. So I would go with, understand, get self-awareness, while at the same time, like Stacy suggested, having official diagnosis / assessment on your husband, and then put those two together so that you don't feel so drained, overwhelmed.
I love that. It's interesting too, in all of these situations, one of the things that we get focused on, and sometimes it's obvious, is the other person. And we don't pay attention to what we need. Yes. And so if you're like Lynette and you want to submit a question, you can go to newlife.com/radio, like I said. And, because I know that there are people that are listening that have a similar situation, and we want to help them. I'm so grateful for all the work that Stacy and Laura do, not only for New Life, because you guys are making an impact on so many lives, also in your profession. You're leading the way, helping people find the right way to get the healing that they need, and just with grace. And so before we leave, I would love, Laura, you're real quick with scripture. What would you like the scripture to be as we go off the show today?
Proverbs 18:1, that's what has come to mind all day, that the person who goes into isolation rebels against all sound judgment. And that can be on both sides. That's why we must bring our issues into relationship with someone who's safe and informed.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you both. I will see you at Restore. Call us and get to Restore if this is your story. We want to see you there. And call us if you need anything, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We are here for you.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.